Hello, everyone. It's Kristin Watt. Welcome to a bonus episode of Say What. We won't do this that often, but this one was really, really important to me because if you're not emotionally exhausted from listening to episode 3 on women leading the way, um, you can listen to this a little later if you want, or just keep on trucking because my good friend Skye is here with us today. And as you know, this show, the purpose of the show is to share real life stories and bring light to issues and causes that hopefully inspire, heal, and unite. And if you just finished listening to episode 3, you heard from Shadia and Emily about their personal stories, and particularly Emily's story of her son, who was a student at Oxford High School and was present the day of the tragedy and the school shooting. And that was kind of, part of what changed her life as a parent and her son's life. And so I think that it is very important when you bring up an issue. We can talk about the issues at nauseum, but then what? What is the solution? What is there has to be a call to action, right? So the question that I'm a mom, Jason, you're a dad, Skye, do you or do you not have children?
I do. I have a small human.
Okay, you have a small human. Awesome. I love that we call them that because even when they become big, they're still just our humans we have to take care of.
Tiny.
And I believe that whether you have children or not, safety of our children, of our friends, our neighbors, our families, just people in general, this is a thing. It's a uniting issue. We all want to feel safe. We all want to be safe, and we all want to protect other people. It's just like what separates us from the animals and makes us not feral, hopefully. So that being said, I invited my friend Skye to come on and talk to us. So Skye, just so you know, because we're going to improve as we go along, but my video quality tech is not my thing, but we're going to get some cool backgrounds and stuff like that. But we just now are adding the video component to this podcast. So I personally like watching. I like seeing who I'm hearing. Like, I'm a visual person. Some people just love the audio, so you can do either one. But Skye is the state lead for the Be Smart campaign here in Michigan. And you are going to hear a lot less of me talking and a lot more of her talking, because she is I hate to put all the pressure on you and say you're the expert, but you are. Not only are you so gifted and so knowledgeable on gun violence prevention and how to have that conversation and how to really come up with practical solutions that really aren't divisive and partisan. They're just about being safe and how we can prevent death and we can prevent tragedy, hopefully, in the future. And that is really your life's calling and your life's work. And that's how I met you. And I'm really excited to have you here today to really educate anyone listening to this. And hopefully this will grow and share far and wide. So I appreciate your time and your expertise and your dedication to the work that you do. And I am not going to talk anymore. I am letting you just say who you are, what that program's about, tell us what you guys are working on, and how people can get involved or be part of the solution.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristin. I am truly thrilled to be here. This is my first podcast.
Oh, really?
But I am an avid podcast listener. So just as a quick aside, I'm not kidding. People binge music, and I used to binge music, but I am literally all the podcasts in my ears, and I have a huge spectrum of what I listen to, everything from all the trash to, all the science. So this is really fun for me, genuinely, deeply excited. Thank you so much. And I feel like that introduction was wild and possibly undeserving.
Thank you. I'm pretty self-critical right now because we are new, but we, just so you are aware, the second episode that we filmed was really about wanderlust and travel, but the parallel was getting out of your bubble, getting out of your comfort zone, and doing things that you're passionate about, even if they're scary. And so I feel like that kind of went over into episode 3 because women running for office is scary. And then now we're over here doing your inaugural podcast, and you were a known person, by the way, in our area. You are all over Oakland County doing advocacy work. And so I feel kind of really honored that you are on my brand new podcast on the PFC network. So thank you for being
likewise. Here. And thank you so much, both of you. It's really, really amazing. I am also doing something scary, right? Like in my job as the state lead and as an advocate for gun safety and for secure gun storage, I got to talk about guns all day. And that is really scary, not only for myself, but for a lot of other people. Like, guns are this taboo topic still in our state in 2023. Mm-hmm. And within our community in Oakland County, within my city of Rochester Hills, it's generally just a topic that people are not always enthusiastic to talk about. People find that it's divisive. People find that it is political, whatnot. But what our campaign, the Be Smart for Kids campaign, which is a national campaign, we're a 501c3, a public safety education organization. What we're designed to do, our main goal is obviously to keep kids safe from unintentional gun violence and unintentional shootings, and to normalize the conversation around secure gun storage, right? Mm-hmm. So we're here to take the sting out of it, because the more people who understand how to have that conversation and how to have that like sticky, awkward, tacky conversation real quick, the better off, the more safe we are all going to be. Exactly. Like you said at the top, we all want to feel safe. We all want to feel safe physically in our surroundings, and we all want to feel safe emotionally on a day-to-day basis. And right now we're living in a climate where I don't think safety is a priority for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people are getting the safety that they need.
I agree.
Outside or inside.
So can you maybe start by telling people, we kind of talked a little bit off camera just so that I could make sure that I'm speaking coherently and intelligently about, I'm familiar with the organizations that you advocate for and support. And you are a volunteer. You are not being, we certainly have no budget on this show, so you aren't paying to be, you're not a paid pundit over here on Say What, but this is something you do because you are passionate about doing it and you believe in it so wholeheartedly. And I do believe, I have watched you over the last year and a half, 2 years that you've been in my purview. Really, like, I've seen school boards that you have gone to and like done presentations, libraries. You're dealing with communities and they're adopting these resolutions to take, I don't know if oath is the right word or what the right verbiage is there, but to really adopt these I'm
resolution. I mean, like a resolve. I don't really have another alternate word for resolution.
We believe in this because So let me see if I can get this back from what you told me. So there's Everytown USA, which is like the mothership of
that is. Yep, that's our top line, and then we have Be Smart for Kids,
which is what you are the state lead for in Michigan.
Yep, that's right. And we are a nonprofit, and we're non-political. We just talk about secure storage, period. Correct. We don't ever talk about, bills that are coming into play. We don't ever talk about politics or any of that jazz. And then on the other side is Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, which is a 501c4, and that is sort of the army of political activists. Of moms, that's right.
Mostly moms and then families. So can you share with anyone listening, first of all, how did you even get started in this? First of all, like, how did this all begin for you?
So the little known fact is that I was actually a Canadian citizen. I just became an American citizen August 1st of 2022. So
I remember when that happened. Yeah, I saw it on the Facebook, so it's real.
That's right.
It happened.
It's real. It happened. I had pictures. So I moved to America in 2009. I was 34. And until then, I had lived in Toronto, Canada, right in the downtown core. So super busy, like crazy, hectic major city. And I had never dealt with gun violence because in Canada we have very different rules and regulations about personal firearm ownership and a ban on assault rifles and whatnot. It just wasn't a huge part of my growing up story. Although gun violence still happens in Canada and unintentional shootings still happen in Canada, it wasn't a huge part of my growing up. So I moved to the States. I moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, over here on a land that's shaped like a hand. Took a while for me to figure this out, you guys, when I moved here.
I'm like, from Texas, so I know. I had to learn that too, and I always did it backwards.
Right. So I moved to Grand Rapids, and, you know, gradually over time, the acknowledgement of daily gun violence, not only in Grand Rapids per se, but throughout the country, just became more and more apparent to me. I was in a little bubble for a long time, but, you know, I just became really aware. And then one year, I was watching the news, and which was very rare for me, and was very rare for me back then too. I watched the news, and there was a young woman who was killed on the 4th of July in Lansing, Michigan. Her name was Michelle Lideline. I think Michelle had a different last name. I know her mom now, but her name was Michelle, and she was shot by an errant bullet at a 4th of July celebration. Someone shot their firearm up in the air, celebratory gunfire. And of course, everything that goes up has to come down, and Michelle lost her life. And that was a real breaking point for me. I was just like, what the absolute fuck is going on? This is too much for me. It was too random and too devastating. And that was the one thing that sort of pierced through my little veil. And I started looking up organizations that I could get involved with that were involved with gun violence. I felt sick to my stomach. I didn't know what else to do. And I ended up finding a rally and a march, and I marched around downtown Grand Rapids once, and then I never did anything again for years. I just didn't.
Yep. I've done that. You know? I've been there.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes
it's usually how it begins, because you do feel overwhelmed in your helplessness. Yeah. Like, I feel like if I sit here with my feelings or a keyboard warrior, I have done nothing. But there is something powerful about collective action, about being 100%. Around hundreds and hundreds of people who don't know what to do, but they know but together, hopefully they can do something. And so I don't ever think the one time does not negate. It's just you got the taste of your own power as a person to do something.
Yep, I agree with that for sure. It was definitely getting my toes wet, and I felt great of people, and they believe what you believe. You feel community with them, and I felt secure. But in the parking lot of that particular march, I was chatting with a woman whom I had been walking sort of close to, and she asked me. My son was 2 at the time, and she said, "Oh, so you're going to have to start asking. Just FYI, you're going to have to asking soon." And I was like, "Asking what?" She said, "Well, you're going to have to start asking about guns in the house when your kid becomes a playdate age." And I went, what? Like, it was so far out of my realm of personal experience or conceptualization. I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, yeah, that's what you have to do. It's about being smart. And she was the first person, this woman whose name I don't know, was the first person to start talking to me about Be Smart way like 8 years ago. And so the Be Smart program, I'm just going to bring this back full circle. The Be Smart campaign is founded on these like 5 tenets, right? So we want to be smart. S is for secure all guns in your home and vehicles. M is for modeling responsible behavior around guns. A, my favorite part, is asking about unsecured guns in homes and vehicles where your kids are going to be, or your at-risk humans are going to be, right? Kids, teens, at-risk humans, whatever. R is recognize the role and impact of guns in suicide. And then T, tell your peers to be smart, right? Just talk about the program. So she was the one that night who really told me about it and really emphasized that, yeah, when your kid starts going over to people's houses, you need to ask if they have guns and how they store them. And I mean, I was just like, what? My head was exploding. I did not even know what to do. But that was a turning point.
Skye, that's a very interesting too, because we were just talking on the previous episode with Shadia Martini about her life in Syria,
Right.
and coming to America, and just the culture shock, not only of Syria to America culture wise, but also like she lived under a regime like where you couldn't even speak or move or read books, or, whatever. And so the getting to America from a Arab country, which is so drastically different. We're talking about you coming from Canada, like 30 minutes up the
Over
road,
there.
north of Detroit. And what's interesting is I am from Texas. I'm from Houston. And so while I am from one of the most diverse cities in the country, best food in the country, I'll fight you if you want to argue about that. I will fight you, and we could bring Jello, we could make it a whole thing. I don't care.
I mean,
Houston
we could
has
do barbecue
the best.
versus poutine here. Seriously, it's
Right.
a real,
And like quite frankly, I feel like I should take you on a road trip. Let's go eat. Let's just take a quick flight to Texas. It's like 2 hours on Spirit. We can get there. It'll be fine. But I grew up around in the Bible Belt with it was guns, your church, respect your mama, sweet tea only, because unsweetened tea is an abomination to Southerners. But gun culture, I didn't actually grow up in a home where we didn't have guns in my house. We just didn't. So, and my parents didn't hunt. Like we grew up in the suburbs. Like we just didn't do that. But I come from country people, so when you'd go up to grandma and grandpa's house, they'd usually have a rifle or something. But it wasn't like, it was really weird when I moved to Michigan almost 10 years ago, because I know that gun violence is a thing. I am a mother. But I was a senior in high school when Columbine happened. And that was the first day that I went, like, I remember I was in my math of money class. I know where I was. I knew who I was sitting next to. And it wasn't like that. It wasn't like one of those, where were you when JFK got shot? It wasn't the moment where we went like, we weren't crying like Beatlemania. But what we were doing was having this end of innocence. It was a, holy crap. Wait a minute. Wait, what? And back in those days, they had it in real time. Like the video stream was running. Like you could watch Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris watch through Columbine High School live. They had it on the news. And we were like, what? Like, I mean, we couldn't believe what we were seeing, even though that wasn't the first school shooting. It was the first that was really brought to the real national news, public attention. And every Dateline story, and it almost seemed like this was this very bizarre, unique thing that happened. And then, of course, it became an epidemic, right? And so...
And then it wasn't,
And then it wasn't. And now it's this public safety issue. And now my child has, both my girls grew up doing shooter drills and stuff. And it's like, it's a sad thing. But I bring all that full circle to say, I grew up in a place that was highly, everyone had guns, everybody hunted, and they were worshipped. And then when I got to Michigan, I thought, I am moving to the north where we are enlightened. And then I'm like, oh, because that's my Southern ignorance. I was thinking the Northeast is the same as the Midwest. It's all north if you're up above Mississippi, right? Like it's all Northerners.
I relate to that.
But when I got here, I was like, oh, I actually kind of found this. I love Michigan. I love this state. You can't even drag me out of it. But there is it's almost like this perfect blend. The Midwest is that way, right? Like it's this middle, it's almost like they took like some of the best and worst of all of the stereotypical parts of the country and created Michigan. And so we have this actually quite interesting schools of thought, diversity in schools of thought. But I didn't realize that, I guess, we're a hunting state and things like that. But now that, as my kids got older and the more shootings, not just school shootings, but just unnecessary violence that we see, it's also very piercing to me that you pointed out that your aha moment to like become active and being part of the solution was something that was just a random, like that wasn't a plotted out violent.
Sandy Hook had already happened 2 years before that. I was pregnant. I was 5 months pregnant.
What happened 2 years before?
Sandy Hook.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And that was like, I feel like that was the beginning of the,
That
people
was
would
our
say, if this doesn't change us,
movement.
nothing will. And here we are, But the fact that it was just something that we would see on the nightly news as Americans since I was born, that somebody shot a gun and a stray bullet killed someone, we're like, yeah, sounds like a Tuesday. And that was your moment because, again, people, we get in our bubble. When you go to other,
Right.
if you're from other countries or other places where things are very different and you come here, like, we take for granted, I think, that this is a very American problem. Like,
It is 100% an American problem. This type
yeah.
of violence doesn't occur in any other country. And in Michigan specifically, 40% of Michiganders, according to the Rand Institute, are firearm owners.
Mm-hmm.
A lot, right? We're a big old state. We got a lot of rural areas, and
Right.
gun culture is it's a thing here in Michigan. And in my neighborhood, or my township or something.
Yeah.
In Toronto, it would be a neighborhood.
Right.
Here, we're like individual cities.
Yeah.
In Rochester Hills, it's very divided. Like, none of my friends own firearms. So when I started sending, when my son started having play dates when we moved here, I would say, hey, just letting you know, in fact, full disclosure is we are a firearm owning family. My
Mm-hmm.
husband has a shotgun in the basement that we keep in a gun safe, and our ammunition is stored on the third floor. And so I offer that right out there. When someone's coming to my house or when my kids go to somebody else's house, I'm like, hey, we're a firearm owning family. Here's how we store our firearms. How do you store yours?
Right.
And it's like, takes kind of the sting out of it. But my friends are like, wow, we don't have firearms. I'm like, well, and they're like, but why are you asking? I need to be asking.
Yes.
And that is the kind of the one thing that we can do.
Well, and this is the thing that it's what inspired me the very first time I heard you speak. And honestly, it's the whole point of the organization, is to have what should be a very simple conversation. And that is, it's not about, you guys are not out coming to you're not the Gestapo. You're not out there trying to take people's guns. You're talking about safe storage. And I think this is why this message has resonated, and your resolution adoption rate by communities, schools, libraries, institutions, organizations, businesses, whatever it is you're presenting, is picking up steam. And that is that, this issue has been so politicized at this point, and really all it is simply storing it safely and having respectable conversations. And so I feel like this is what actually gets results, and I don't know what data you have on that, but we're not trying to argue about whether you should or should not have them. Our question is, how are you storing them and how are you being responsible with them?
That is exactly 100% it. Yep, that's exactly it. The Be Smart campaign is specifically designed, it's we do presentations, or like 20 minutes, and we do those all over the place. We're trying to get more involved in doctors' offices, and we're trying to get more involved, pediatricians and whatnot. And of course, I've never encountered a pediatrician or a physician who's been like, no, thank you. I like to keep my firearms out in the open.
Yeah.
Never happened. But we are working with school districts. We're here to educate the public on what secure storage really means. What has been happening in our country over the last 3 years is, since the pandemic, the purchase rate of firearms has skyrocketed, right? Like, just absolutely blown through the roof. Yeah. And so there's so many personal firearms at home now. It is, the Detroit police chief said recently, after like the 22nd unintentional shooting of this small child, was like, there's an epidemic. There's an obsession over handgun ownership right now. And people are leaving their firearms out, and they're turning their heads, and their tiny humans are finding them. And, even an 18-month-old can, like, trigger pressure is nothing anymore. And the firearms that we own, and I had this conversation with some people who say, when I grew up, I used to have I would bring my firearms in the back of my truck, and we would go hunting, like, after school. Well, it's very different. A shotgun is an extremely different weapon than we're talking about the current handguns that are on the market today. So there's an apples to oranges, but we're really not talking about what you used to do back in the day. We're talking about what we do now. And what we do now is we try to teach people how to secure and store their firearms. And, the gold standard for that, according to Everytown, and for those that are listening, I'm air quoting right now when I say gold standard.
Okay.
It's a guideline, right? Everybody needs a guideline. Our gold standards are when you secure your firearm, you're going to secure it in a locked box or a safe, and you're not going to give anybody the key or the code. There are really cool biometric safes right now that you can just put your hand on. They're like straight out of James Bond. You put your hand on it, fingerprints, and it pops right open. So your firearm can be accessed right immediately. You can program those biometric safes with up to 10 sets of fingerprints. So presumably your whole household could access those firearms if they needed to. You could also store your firearm unloaded with a trigger lock. So you would unload everything, including the chamber the round that's in the chamber. A lot of the times you unload and you don't remember that there's a round in the chamber, and that round is often fired. But there's a trigger lock that goes right through. It works on a shotgun. It works on a pistol. Doesn't work on a pump action shotgun, but that can go in a gun closet or a gun cabinet. But we're really talking about locking things up, not just putting it on the top shelf, putting it under the bed, putting it in the nightstand. It's not out of sight is not locked. Locked is fucking locked. Locked up. And, once you start talking about that with people and you start talking about the rates that we are losing children in this country because there are firearms out at all times in so many different houses. And it's a lot of the time it's unintentional. People just do not remember to lock up their firearms. They just, or they grew up in a household where they didn't lock them up, and so why would they do that now? And it's just a learning experience. So we're trying to really work on destigmatizing. So we don't condone and we don't condemn gun ownership. We're totally neutral to gun ownership. We are totally neutral to how you stored your firearms before this conversation. But what we want to do is we want to but we want to give everyone the knowledge to safely store their firearms and the reasons why we store our firearms. Secure gun storage, locked, will reduce unintentional shootings in children and teenagers by up to 78%. So you really got to want it to go after it. But if you lock them up, and kids don't have access, you're completely removing the issue.
Exactly. Well, I do want to ask you, too, first of all, I adore you. I think you're amazing. And I think any person who cares about other people you don't know, people you do know, and dedicates, doesn't have to be your whole life, but your time, your money, your resources, your gas in your car, your time you might be on a vacation, but you can't because you got to be at this conference or you got to do this presentation or whatever. Or hey, maybe even a Wednesday night where you were totally going to catch up on Netflix, but now you're on a podcast because you didn't know. Like you are giving of yourself, and you are not somebody, this didn't happen to you. You didn't lose your spouse or a child to gun violence. This I think is the truth of humanity right here. You watched a news story and said, that was senseless. This is bullshit. I want to do something. And then you did it. And you are like now the state lead in, and because you deeply just care about other people. And that alone should just be the credentials right there. Like, how many people actually do that for anything that they believe in? I can't even get my kid to clean her room because she cares about having clean socks. Like, it's a powerful thing. So, Jason started this whole podcast network. Like, I'm sure there are goals, and Jason, by the way, who's been our wonderful silent person over here. Jason
is a target on his head right now. What are you going to say?
But this is because you're passionate about it. You're not getting paid right now to do this for me. You want your network to be a success. You asked me to come on it. I'm not getting paid to be here. Skye's not getting paid to be here. We're here because we actually want to communicate and we love and care about people. And that can be manifested in so many different ways, whether that's education, a hug, a podcast, a movie, making a documentary, volunteering, donating your money, whatever that is. It's a selfless act of servitude. And so for that, I just love and respect you. If people want to, I want to get Jason's any thoughts he has on this, just because if you're going to push the buttons, you're going to talk. I can't just pretend you're not here, right?
You can't. Okay.
But when
you
we're
know
done,
me, I've got, please.
Yeah.
You let me know when it's my turn and I'll.
Yay! I love it. I love it. Okay. So, we have probably about 10 more minutes on this podcast. So I want to give Jason a voice here. And I also, when we're done, can you please, Skye, I know you guys have a social media, accounts, but how, if there is someone listening to this who might want to get information, print out educational materials, maybe want you to come speak at their business, organization, school, library, I want to make sure we're going to have all of those links on the page and what have you. But I want to make sure that you're able to direct people to get more information, because this is information that literally saves lives every day, whether you know it or not, it does. So before we get to that and end on that, here on Say What, we're going to turn it around to the magic man who pushes all the buttons and makes all this happen, because I don't do tech. I just talk. He texts, I talk. Oh my God, it's like TikTok, but we're tech talk. Yeah, jokes. I try to get one in every time. Jason, what you got?
I'll try to bottom line this, because anybody who knows me knows once I start down a rabbit hole, it's easy to we could be here until midnight, right?
Yep.
I want to say a couple of things though. And I'll try to keep this real short. It's conversations like this. It's getting to know people like Skye is really why there is a PFC network, because this provides people an opportunity to communicate. And if you do not have communication, there will be no action. There will be no fixing anything. There will be finger pointing, that there will be shit talking, there will be personal agendas and things of this nature, and nothing is getting done. But at the same time, the problem is still happening, right? So, tapping into this and providing this platform for things like this is why I do what I do. And it takes special people like Kristin, like Skye, that are going out and actually doing the right things for the right reasons. It's not self-serving. It's to help our communities and the people within them. So if what I'm doing here provides that kind of opportunity, and that bare minimum, it sparks at least a conversation, then I've done my job. I don't know amount of money that I would be paid, that you would be paid, that anybody would be paid is going to make as big of an impact as if we change somebody's life or the safety of it. So Skye, I would just like to say thank you for taking time out to be a part of Kristin's show, first of all, but more importantly than that, thank you for making a difference for the right reasons.
For sure.
And it's people like you that give me the glimmers of hope, because I am not real big on our society right now, just based on our overall aura. But you are an exception to the rule, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. So thank you sincerely for what you do.
You guys. Well,
can I quick piggyback?
I'm done.
Thank you. Mic drop. He's done. So here is the thing that I can't say I always say it on the show, because this is only the 4th show, but I do say it in my daily life. And I say it to people all the time is, look, you don't have to have a lot to give a lot or do a lot. And you don't have to, Jason's just like, oh, special people, I'm just me. I literally was minding my own business 4 years ago when George Floyd was killed. And I was pissed. The pandemic had started, and I was very much a social, I had a lot of very strong feelings and views and wanting to, like, where do I put all this energy, into how can I change the world? Because it feels overwhelming. Like, this is a huge global, national problem. How can I fix it?
Mm-hmm.
But when that happened, a mutual friend in the community and myself literally were like, we're done. We can't even travel to Lansing. We can't go march anywhere because it's COVID. Like, we're just going to do it right here in our little historic town. And we thought, well, hopefully 20 people show up, because it was scary. Like, it's like you said, scary having the conversations
Mm-hmm.
because of the climate of communities and country. And it was scary because it was like, oh my God, nobody's really ever done a march like through the middle of our little Mayberry. And we just hope we didn't look like the two of us looking like dumbasses. And sure enough, 400 people showed up. And that was the day when I talk about collective action and collective power to make change. And that doesn't even have to be social and political. That can be in your business, in your reunion club. Like, I mean, it could be whatever. Like, the power of numbers and education and conversation changes lives. And so I always kind of call that, for my life, the day this veil was lifted in my community, where people were like, oh, I'm not alone. I thought I was the weirdo here, and it's also the most terrifying thing for an institution to be like, crap, they recognize their power. Just like during COVID, when businesses had to send people home to work, shit, this is not good. We've told them for 40,000 years that they cannot work from home.
Everyone's in their pajamas.
And then now everyone's like, oh, you mean I can make chicken in the crock pot and my kids are happy they have a parent at home, and I can make a living and do better work. Like, so these societal lies, that we're told. So the reason I say this is because you can literally just be Jane Doe in your house on suburban Stonecroft Lane, and you can literally make a difference and save lives. Whether that is with safe storage and gun safety, whether that's running for a little office in your community, whether it's starting a food pantry, you can make a difference. And that difference that you make ripples and inspires other people to be kind or be safe. And you just don't have to be a movie star or anybody super special. I mean, we are special. Like, let's keep it real. Like, right? We are. But you know what? Everybody is. And everybody has the ability to do that. And I think that, I don't know, that's why you inspire me so much. Because, like, anytime you see somebody giving it their world for free, trust that person. That's the rule.
Well,
they don't have, well, maybe not everybody, but I'm just saying, like, you do this because it's you have a deep desire and passion to promote this, and thank God for you, because, and thank God for every other mom and volunteer and the millions of people across the country that are passionate about this issue, because it is an epidemic. It is a problem. But there's a solution. That's the problem. Like, we actually have the
thing. Don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
So many people have said to me over the years, well, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. Like, that is a bald-faced fucking lie meant to oppress you.
Yes.
There is all the things that you can do. And in this, like, I truly believe deep in my heart that secure storage, and the way that we have been talking about it in Michigan, the way we're talking about it nationally with the Be Smart campaign in every single solitary state, is that I believe, I pray, I hope that we will start seeing a slow downtick, not an uptick, of unintentional shootings. I mean, I think that in Oakland County, at least in our area, we've definitely talked about it enough that people are starting to become more well-versed in secure gun storage. And, there's some stuff coming up that is going to reinforce that. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I just think that in our case, you know, I have a kid, my kid is 10. I'm going to tell you the truth. I have the most self-serving reason in the entire world to do this. I want my kid to live.
Yes.
I want him to graduate from high school.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to take him home to go to school in Windsor across the pond to be safe. I want him to be safe right down the street. But I can't right now. I just don't think that the chances are strong enough right now.
They're not, because it can literally happen anywhere.
Yeah, it can happen anywhere. And I refuse. Yeah, I refuse to have my safety rocked like that. My own personal sense of safety. I refuse to walk around in fear. You know, that's something that I definitely carry with me every day. But, you know, I have this conversation with everybody.
I know you do.
Everybody.
I honestly think like that might be somehow how we even met. I don't actually remember where we were.
Sure it was.
But it's okay. We did meet, and now Jason's met you, and now, and I just deeply appreciate the work you do, being here, and just giving of your time, because we all know it is valuable anyway, but especially when you do advocacy work, you have to pick and choose like how to be everywhere at once. And so just thank you for making time for Say What. And can you let people know if they want to donate, get involved, volunteer, get more information, recruit you to come be phenomenal at a presentation? How do they find you?
Sure can. So on the national level, in case you happen to be listening from another state or wherever you may be, or if you're in an area that does not have a local Be Smart chapter here in Michigan, you can either text SMART, that's air quotes, SMART, to 64433. You'll be connected to our national registry. Eventually, you will get back to me. It's just the way it happens. You can also check our website out, which is just phenomenal and literally has everything.
I've looked. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
It's a really great website.
And super easy to maneuver. Super easy. Tons of resources.
Social media shares and tons of facts on there. So that website is besmartforkids.org. And that's our national website. You'll find all kinds of information on that. There's videos, there's social media shares, there's stuff you can print out and hand out, stuff you can share. There's a toolkit in there to talk about how that will tell you how to talk about secure storage at your school and how to get your school district involved in educating parent communities about secure storage, right? Which automatically makes your school a safer community. That's what everybody wants. And then you could email me if you only, please, because I really do keep track. That I am besmartmichigan@gmail.com. And that is how you can get in touch with us. Yeah, absolutely. We do 25-minute presentations. We can do them via Zoom, via online. If you click on the events tab at besmartforkids.org, you can actually look up when the next event is near you. And we also do online presentations on Zoom once a month here in Michigan. They're also open to the public, and those are available at besmartforkids.org for sign up on the events tab. Type in Michigan, they'll come up, and you can find anybody. Oh, jerks.
Takes 10 seconds to find you to get these resources. So, Skye, again, the mission of my show is to tell stories and educate people or give people opportunities to be exposed to stories that inspire, heal, and unite. And I'm pretty sure you just did all three things. So thanks for completing the mission of my show. And it was also great to see you. And hopefully I will see you again in person sooner than later. And I just want to thank everyone for tuning in again. Thank you, Skye, for being here. Again, state lead for the Be Smart program here in the state of Michigan. And all of the links for contacting you will also be listed on my page. So our contacting or to get more resources. So tune in to the next episode next week. And I really thank you all for tuning into these really important conversations that we've had over the last several hours with several episodes. So Jason, thank you for all you do. And we are excited to be the Say What podcast on the PFC Entertainment Network. Check out all of their other additional shows and content for your enlightening and entertainment purposes. So we will see you guys again next week, and I thank you for tuning in.